How does it feel?
Yay!
Actually,
Sorry.
yeah. How does it feel being in a changed society?
What do you
You're gonna have to be
mean?
more specific.
Video games have been changed.
Oh, are you talking about the well, okay, there's a lot of actually because going back to like just talking
No,
about
I'm
news and
sorry.
stuff,
Final
there's a
Fantasy VII Rebirth came out and it changed the game. Video
okay,
games have
that's
changed
I
forever.
thought you were gonna talk about like the major
There,
layoffs or the
no,
recent Nintendo
no, I'm sorry.
lawsuit or
There's a new standard.
like
There's a new standard. The new greatest game of all time has come out. There's a new fucking standard what you have to meet when you're making a good fucking video game. I'm
I've seen
actually
some
showing
clips.
that.
I've seen the Bald Man Bar. I've heard about.
Look, that game's so fucking good, man. It's crazy how good that game is. Yeah. The smallest thing I want to talk about. I probably will talk about it later. I don't know. Is like your entire party travels the overworld with you when you're like walking around, right? You see not only like the 3 in the party, but people in the background you see like walking around behind you. And then the game has like party presets, so it's really easy to swap who's in the active party. And when you do that, you can physically see the characters who were in like the reserve party walk up and take the place of the characters who then switch
That's
to the reserve party.
cool,
And it's such a
actually.
small touch, but like little shit like that in a JRPG where I'm supposed to be adventuring with a party, like it really sells like the adventure and the journey. It's crazy. But
That's
it's
actually really
also a
cool.
shame that you
Yeah.
can't play that game without playing at least 2 other JRPGs.
Yes. Right. That makes sense. Nice. Nice. So yeah, what do you guys want to talk about first?
I mean, you already brought it up a little bit before we started. We could talk about like the Nintendo lawsuit real quick, since I guess
Oh,
that's the
we
most.
could the Yuzu stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because well, it's fun. See, it was interesting for me because like I have a hack 3DS, so if it comes just like because that's because I have a Switch. I don't need to emulate Switch games. Like I'd rather just buy them because it's just gonna be more stable, and even if it might be more expensive, like I haven't been in a situation yet where I'm like more interested in like trying a Switch game before buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I don't want to spend money on this game. Like right now, every Switch game I own like was basically worth it, except unless I haven't played it, which is a Metroid Dread, which I still have sitting there, just waiting for me to play it. So that's where my stance on the Switch emulator is. But the 3DS emulator is getting discontinued is because like again I have a hack Switch, but it's like I'm making a Shin Megami Tensei video where I talk about all my favorite characters. So going forward, I need to record my footage of like every game. I talked to you. Did I talk to you guys about that idea?
Yes, you have.
Okay, just making sure because I know I talked about it on my streams, but I was trying to remember if I talked about it here. So I was thinking forward. I was like, oh, I guess I got to emulate the 3DS games so that I could record footage of them. And then so Citra going down, I actually had my eyes on it because so basically there is another 3DS emulator coming out called Mikage, which apparently they announced that they were going to release it on the 1st of April. I don't. Which now I say that I hope it's not an actual joke, and especially now that Citra's gone, there's a good reason for them to bigger reason for them to do stuff. So I guess anyone interested in the 3DS emulation should keep an eye on Mikage to see if that happens. And the other thing I was going to say, at least for me specifically, I poked into it because I was like, wait, no, 3DS is like a pretty like there was actually just I don't know if you guys saw, there's a virtual console emulator for
Yeah, I saw that.
Virtual
Virtual
Boy,
Boy.
excuse
Yeah.
me, thank you, yeah, where it actually not only like can perfectly emulate all the Virtual Boy games, but do so with the 3D effect which is fucking awesome to me. Like that, I think that's really cool just for a games preservation thing because like I had played Jack Bros, the Shin Megami Tensei Virtual Boy game, and it was a little weird visually just because like the edges of the screen were like blue or red, and it just but now it's like I could just play it with the actual 3D effect. That's pretty cool. But I looked in and there's a way that I can actually just straight up record like stream footage from my 3DS to my PC through hardware through the digital data basically. So which is lucky for me, so that way I don't need to fuck with emulation. I could just literally just play it on my 3DS and then stream the footage to the PC. So yeah. But what did you guys have to think about it or have to say? if you guys have anything specific.
I mean, first of all, like, look, obviously it's fucked up. Like, there is legal precedent for emulators to be legal, and I think that, you know, for preservation's sake, they should exist.
Yes.
Here's the thing, though, and here's what I'll say. I think Nintendo know which are and aren't losing battles, right? And I think they obviously know who Dolphin is, or you know, the people who make Dolphin. You know, the second Dolphin tried to get on Steam, they fucked with them, but they haven't told Dolphin you can't operate online because they understand that there is legal precedent for older emulators, right?
Yes.
The
Well,
Yuzu
even
obviously
so
was in a.
Go ahead. Sorry, finish your thought.
I was just say it was in a major gray area because it was like being like made at the same time as you know, like the Switch is currently a console. And
sorry, I just want to interject real quick just to say that like what really like fucked Yuzu in terms of like stepping outside of the gray area is the fact that like they claimed we don't support piracy, but behind their Patreon they helped people emulate Tears of the Kingdom, which was a very recent release, and they had like the tools to, you know, make people pirate it very close to the release. So it's like it kind of destroyed their like thing.
No, they were getting money out of it. Apparently, there was a stolen code. Like I saw a Reddit post of someone claiming that there was code used that it was stolen from them. And yeah, with the Tears of the Kingdom, apparently I heard some of that even happened before the game released. So definitely some shady things specifically with Yuzu. Yeah,
is that there's a big difference between an emulator existing for their 20-year-old consoles and something current. I think the saddest part of this whole thing is that Citra gets caught in the crossfire.
Yes, exactly. Well, because it was developed by the same people, right?
Yeah. And so they went for Yuzu and Citra. When in reality, if you know they had waited on them, and you know, I know that like there were DS and Game Boy emulators while those were still the main consoles. You know what I mean? I remember playing fucking like Pokemon Black on DS emulators before it came out here, right? Like the English patch. So obviously, fucking there was you know, there's like already, and Nintendo didn't go for those, but I think Yuzu did definitely hit like a mass velocity where they go after them legally, and it's obviously way easier when they're you know, like current and dealing with current piracy, right? Because like I'm sure Dolphin gets more users, more you know, has more people who have downloaded it, go to it than Yuzu by far, but just because it's current piracy, so it's almost like, you know, obviously they're gonna come for you legally, and I'd imagine that they would have tried to fight it and make the, you know, piracy or emulation is legal, but yeah, I guess if they had stuff directly helping piracy, then they probably settled just because they knew they were fucking good.
Well, the thing, because it's like regarding just legality of emulators, a lot of these companies do use emulators, right? Like the Switch, you can just play NES games, right? Like they're officially owned, but it is an NES emulator, right? Like it's very different from the, you know, ones we download. But and obviously there's other, like, you know, the rewind feature. They have fucking quick saves, right? Like, so if you try to make emulators illegal, then like, you know, how do you do it? Like you know, like they can't do it in a blanket way because they themselves, you know, use them, right? And the other thing I was thinking of is just like, because again, why emulation is important. Of course, it's just like games preservation, and like especially like with Citra being gone, as you were just to jump off of what you were saying. Like there was a video, I guess, where Nintendo's like celebrating like a Mario anniversary, and it's like, here's a bunch of the Mario's history, and I saw someone pointing out a cut because they literally skipped from Mario 64 to a Switch to like the new Super Mario games Bros on the Switch, which was really because they skipped like fucking 4 whole consoles because you can't get those games anymore. You officially, if you wanted to play like Super Mario Sunshine right now, there's no current way, because like the 3D All Stars was a very limited run. You know, so you have to either get a retro games emulation or get a very high price. Like, did the 3D All Stars even have a physical release or
yeah,
no?
It did. I have it.
Okay, it did. So yeah, it's very like, but it was very limited run. So okay, I thought it did. I just want to be sure. So, you know, so they weren't in their big anniversary thing. They weren't highlighting their history. They were highlighting like, here's these older Mario games you can play, because you really can't, like, 64 you can play on their Switch Online 64 service basically, but you know, you can't really do the other stuff. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was like it was ultimately better for Yuzu to settle than to fight it, just because like not only with the Tears of the Kingdom thing, would have like really messed up the case. Like Nintendo was like kind of pushing for like some really insane things in there, in regards to wanting to say that like if someone owns a game and they dump it, that's still illegal, even if they own it and they're dumping it for their own use. Like they put that as part of the case. Like they just like attached like multiple different things to it. And I feel like even though I feel like if someone were just fighting that as an individual issue, it probably get dismissed or whatever. But like the fact that like Yuzu did do some wrong, it'd be like kind of risky in the sense of like, I don't know, like I feel like there's a chance some of that other stuff they're alleging would just also kind of go through too. It's like I feel like it makes sense that they did like settle, and just like hopefully like I did see people saying that like because Nintendo alleged certain things that were like probably not able to like be proven, but they still settled, other people in the future might feel inclined to settle too, because like they'll think that they'll lose because they saw that like Yuzu lost on these fronts, which is like kind of dangerous, I guess. But like I feel like there's just still more like potential harm that could have happened if they did like fight the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the settlement definitely did, like, yeah, no, there was, yeah, the DMCA, like, yeah, there was some, and yeah, it was an interesting situation for sure. Not for good reasons, but, you know, yeah. Sorry, I don't have that much more to add.
I guess like just to like comment on Citra, I guess it is unfortunate, because I would have been interested in Citra in the future. Like I also have a 3DS. I have multiple 3DS, but like I don't know if something happens to them, I would like a 3DS emulator to be a thing so that I can still play those games, because I really like the 3DS DS,
Mm-hmm.
just line of games.
Yeah, well, and I think that even more so than just the fact that, you know, they're likable, it's like part of the problem, even just like with emulation of them, is that I think they like genuinely are like some of the hardest to emulate or play in other ways consoles. You know, like they're some of the most unique consoles and games for them are so unique that like I don't know, like preservation is already so hard for them. So Nintendo like already getting in the way, like fucking,
Mm-hmm.
is just really frustrating. Especially because like I just don't understand what their goal is at a certain point. Like holding out preservation for and like allowing people to get access to older games, because like it's realistically not like if I go out and buy a 3DS and like games for it, or a DS and games for it, they get any money for that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like any way that a modern person is going to buy those games in, I'd imagine, America or Japan, you're going to secondhand shops and they're getting nothing for it. So why do they care?
Right.
Like you're not making money on it still.
Yeah, like I've
Which is
seen
why I get them caring about the Switch, because that's where they're making money right now. But you're not making money on the 3DS or the DS in 2024. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Which, yeah, I think that's why they don't like go after Dolphin, MGBA or any of these other emulators, because these games aren't available, and these are like the only way people can reasonably play them, because they're not making. I mean, I think actually probably one of the more interesting titles on the Switch's virtual console library is Kirby Tilt and Tumble, because that game you can't. I mean, there's a version of it that you can emulate that has, it's like a hack that gives it more like directional control, like controls with buttons and stuff. But like the game is meant to be played with the motion detector in the cartridge, and so the Switch is really the only way you can like reason, like the fact that it's available on the Switch Game Boy thing is like you can play it with the Switch's motion controls and actually play Kirby Tilt and Tumble as intended. Where if you emulate it, like it's much harder to do. You're either using a hacked version, or you pay God knows fucking how much for a physical cartridge. Same like, and what's still unavailable is like I think WarioWare Twisted and Yoshi Topsy Turvy on the Game Boy Advance are also used motion aspects only in the cartridge, so they're not able to be emulated in the same way. So just that's something that really only Nintendo can do, because I don't.
Yeah, your audio's starting to mess up.
Okay,
Crafts.
I was trying to find a place to cut in and ask if that was Crafts was like being turned into a fucking Borg from Star Trek, or if my headphones were fucking up.
It's probably me. Do I sound good now?
Yeah, it's you. No, you're not good.
No, let me give me a second. Better, worse?
It's still the same.
God damn it.
Yeah, you sound. I don't even know how to describe it. You know the best way I can describe it. As a kid, like in like the early 2000s, I had this like Buzz Lightyear megaphone, and it had like two voice like changer things on it. One would like try to make you sound like Buzz Lightyear, and it would just make your voice deeper. The other one would try to make you sound like Zurg and would like make your voice robotic. It sounds like you're talking through that.
Okay, so when I plug in my preamp, the little needle, it's barely moving from the back, so I think my cable is just supremely fucked.
You might have to join on your phone.
Yeah, maybe try leaving and rejoining first just to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try that, and then you might just have to join on your phone. It might be Jover.
Because I think it's the microphone.
Oh, wait.
Wait, no.
Did you just join on your phone, or is your mic?
No,
is that your mic?
This is my computer.
Oh,
wait,
okay.
what did you do? Yeah, you're good now.
Left and rejoined.
Okay. Yeah, it might have been
We're
the
so
connection.
back.
That was the thing. It wasn't necessarily the cable. There was a good chance it was just the connection got screwy, and you just.
That's weird.
It happens, Computers are weird. I think they're basically magic still. Like, I know that there's stuff there, but the more I learn about it without actually understanding it, the more it seems like it genuinely is just like kind of magic, and we try to understand the magic, but
There's just little men running around in there.
there are.
So you reminded me of a story my friend told me. Apparently, back in the day, one of the computer parts, when it failed, it released like actual like blue smoke. So when that happened and people reported it, the joke would be like, "Oh, the magic's gone." Like that.
Oh no! The little man got confused again. Craftsdwarf.
Exactly. It was. Oh no! Is my audio fucking up?
Yes.
That was my way of trying to tell you that your audio is fucked up.
See, that's what I.
Hello?
Yes. No. Good.
It's fine now, but.
Okay. Well, if it fucks up again, I'll just switch to my phone.
Yeah.
Just let me know. Just tell me the little men are fucking everything up. Like it's that one SpongeBob episode. Where he's got all the SpongeBobs in his head burning everything down.
Yes, I think about that episode probably every like 3 days at least. I'm convinced that's how my brain works.
Fair enough. Oh boy, what were we even talking about anymore?
Just the Yuzu Citra.
Right. Oh, computer speak magic.
I mean, I don't know how much more I have to say about Yuzu. I mean, it sucks, but I almost have a hard time blaming Nintendo because I understand why they did it, and I think that
well,
considering
go ahead.
They were going after people making games that are on like their modern system, I think or emulations, sorry, not games, like emulators of like the current system that they are selling. I think it's pretty within their right, like at the end of the day. Like Citra got caught in the crossfire, but like I don't think they would have gone after Citra if it wasn't for the fact that it was the same team. So,
Yeah, no. And speaking of, just to add from a business point, because I was just thinking of like what was? All right, wow, hold on, brains, get back to me. Just how much money it would cost Nintendo to actually preserve these games like that. They can really only do so much, I think. Like I was just thinking about the Tomb Raider remaster, where here, let's make these classic games available. Like they the gameplay is basically untouched. and visually, like it's like the Halo one where you can swap between styles, which I really think is cool, and that has the opening message of like, hey, there's some racist shit in these games. Keep that in mind. It basically sounds like because again, like how do fuck do you play these old games? So but I just remember people criticizing that because they were like, oh, they're including that racist stuff, but they're also profiting off of it, and it's like, but so what? The alternative is like ignoring it and just like letting the game just basically be lost media. Not really. It's obviously not going to be lost media, which I don't like that I said that because I feel like that term's getting thrown around too much in ways that doesn't really apply. But it's like, like we have to preserve history, and that involves the shitty parts. So, yeah. And again, money unfortunately is like the only way you can justify like big companies doing stuff like that. So, because fans will do it, and there can be money involved. Like just look at Yuzu. But I definitely prefer when it's not, right? Because as someone who cares enough about stuff, like I literally had a brief kick where I was looking into like I was trying to find a show that wasn't subtitled, but there was a script of Japanese like subs, like the Japanese script was available, so that I could use that and actually like subtitle a show myself. I didn't find one, but like that's that I want to contribute. Like I had a brief burst of like wanting to contribute to this hobby I like, right? So what were you gonna say?
Well, I'm just gonna say, so there are types of preservation that exist, right? Like libraries are one, and libraries catalog types of media, and they do catalog video games and other things. The problem is they just kind of catalog games, they don't catalog systems, which fair enough. I don't think libraries should be giving out PS5s to someone, right? Because obviously that just would be a disaster. But and then they're like books and things are like do get cataloged by like libraries and are there is like real attempts for even like government sponsored preservation is something that isn't even like far-fetched. But I think realistic with games, what it just comes down to is I think and I don't even know, like before I say too much I guess on it, I don't know how much Nintendo gets in the way of things like the organizations that are nonprofits that deal with games preservation and stops them from keeping their own copies of stuff. The problem just comes down to like I think there's a difference between preservation and being able to easily like have anyone access games, and I think anyone should be able to access any game at any point, right? But the question is just like, is the game being preserved so that there are copies that are not lost and that in theory someone somewhere has the copy of it? Or are we talking about preservation where anyone anywhere has the ability to, and I think that, you should have to pay for it. But, in theory, if anyone anywhere could pay to play any video game that, had been made, I would have like no problems. But I guess the problem is that that's like not what exists. And there is a difference there. I think people don't.
Yeah, no, I definitely think like ability to play, because like I was just, just the thought I had is like, okay, if you have a computer, in theory, you can play like so many games, right? But then it's like, okay, well, do you have a gamepad? Do you have like a specific like because like even there's some games like the Nintendo 64 or the GameCube where like playing it on one controller or the other does kind of change like how you play, right? Especially I was just saying, the way the GameCube buttons are laid out very specifically work for GameCube games, but don't necessarily translate to other games. So it's like that there's a like ability accessibility thing, and then never mind like other like Wiimote shit or console specific stuff, because I also had a kick a couple years ago in 2022 where it's like I was really into having, because I have an N64, so I bought an N64 EverDrive, and I have a Game Boy Advance, so I got a Game Boy Advance EverDrive, so I could play those games on the original hardware. But with and I bought a Wii U to hack it, and I literally haven't played a game on it. So I don't know. I'm just picking same words.
Well, that's all we ever do, isn't it?
But yeah, anyway, what I had some other things that I wanted to talk about, but
did we talk about the Crunchyroll Funimation thing? I think we did, right? Like
a little while ago.
Yeah, I think we talked about it when it was more pressing news.
Yeah.
I think what was the more recent? Oh, the more recent thing with Crunchyroll is their like AI subs bullshit. like there are people. I forget exactly what the news was, but they're basically.
Yeah, I think like the head or like the president or something wanted to look into doing that.
Yes, and nobody liked that. So, but I don't. Oh, you already talked about AI a bit.
I
Come to
mean,
think of it, so yeah. And
I
obviously it's
think
a fucking shitty move.
I think here's the thing, and it depends. Obviously, Crunchyroll will still probably get people paying for it because there are people who just don't know and don't follow who will
Hmm.
pay for Crunchyroll. But I think that a majority of anime fans, because of just kind of how you have to be to want to willingly go find and watch a bunch of cartoons from another culture, are a little bit more tuned in than the average fandom. And I think if they realize that subs are all being done by AI and
Hmm.
that if they just pirate it instead, they can find subs, done by people, which just will be what happens, right? Like,
Yeah,
it'll go back to where it was, where there's a lot less official subs for everything, but the things that do get,
the
or not
popular
even
stuff.
official subs, there's a
Yeah,
lot less just
yeah.
subs in general.
No,
But
for sure. Like it'll be back like the early 2010s
yeah,
probably.
yeah, that's right.
Like what because like I remember there like watching Hidamari sketch or Jinsei where it's like I had to wait weeks from the episode air date to get subs and like literally just having that fear of that is this show even going to get subbed, right? Where nowadays it's very rare where a seasonal show doesn't have subs, if it happens at all. And if it does happen, it's probably like fucking 2-minute episode shows for children that no one gives a shit about, right? Because yeah, that as you're, anime was built off of like Western anime fandom and manga fandom as well was basically built off of piracy, which is why I think it's so prevalent, relevant to a lot of other mediums, I guess, because like people still go to obviously theaters are a little different because that's a very different experience in watching. Um, but like with TV, like what the most popular shows that are pirated are also the most popular shows being watched. Like and it's harder to do because of getting copyright notices to your internet service provider. But it's still it just it's not as big of a scene in the same way that anime is for sure.
Yeah.
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 um, But I guess the other topic I wanted to bring up regarding, which happens to deal with just like having a lot of media consumed, but it was just something I was thinking about. Because in the Pause and Select Persona 4 video, he talks about how like TV was used at was it, like a cultural thing in Japan with like so many people watching like literally the same screen. Um, but one thing he brought up about Persona 5 was how everyone has phones, so they all have their own individual screens. And I don't know, I was just thinking about how, like, because you also talked about it a bit, Vindy, where it's like, are we even an anime podcast in regards to this podcast? Because I was just thinking about how, like, because just speaking more culturally, I guess, like, when it comes to greens, like there's it. I feel like like yeah, Dune 2 just came out and it's being really talked about. The Super Bowl, obviously, we still have sports and stuff, but generally speaking, culturally, there's less of a shared experience when it comes to like media. I guess like I feel like it's way like obviously there's always going to be popular stuff, but it just feels way less like like it's not like Lost was a huge sensation. Breaking Bad
Yeah,
was a
it
huge
was replaced.
sensation.
It was replaced. I was thinking about this the other day. It was replaced with shared social media moments. So, for
Yes.
example, like the other day, I don't know if y'all know anyone in your lives who got really into this. There was like this big TikTok series, the like "Who the fuck did I marry," where it was like this 50-part series of this like lady chronicling this guy she met and married, who was like a sociopath and like manipulative liar, and like literally
Ooh,
led her on
okay.
like these crazy lies. And it was 50 parts of 10-minute TikToks. Okay, 50 million views total. Like
Okay.
a sixth of Americans like watch this shit. You know what I mean? Like, and even outside of that, we come on here and every week, we talk or make mentions or jokes to these big social media things that happened in the last week. I just think that it exists the same way. It's just that yeah, like people, because of streaming services and the internet and how everyone's media is a la carte and kind of just whatever they want. You have so much more choice. People choose whatever they want, and that's way more personalized. And instead, I think it's just
Yes.
replaced with these big social media moments, and that it really does mean that eventually, I think people will care a lot less about genuinely actors, and instead like the big people who make these big like social media headlines and clips and stuff. You know what I mean? Will be, and some of those will be still artists and actors and stuff. Like people like Sydney Sweeney, is a name that shows up all the time right now on Twitter, and everyone's talking about. And she's an actress. Taylor Swift and Kanye are, I think, two musicians that still anything they do, people are talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but I do think that for the most part, it's just where people get that like shared community and where we all get, I guess, like the pop culture we talk about from. Yeah, it doesn't come from like everyone's turning on TV and going to channel like 12 at night. It's everyone opens up Twitter or TikTok in bed, and that's where everyone sees the same stuff.
Yeah, but I was also just adding onto that with because I like the observation you made about like how with the way the algorithm works is that it's showing people the same things that they already like. So it's like there's the people who watch Jujutsu Kaisen who are being shown Jujutsu Kaisen stuff, and then you have the people who don't give a shit. So that they end up being these two different bubbles, and we don't have we don't have seasonal anime in the same way anymore. Like we get as many shows, but everyone's not like trying a bunch of them, and it like the culture around seasonals has changed. And but more directly, I was thinking of just how that applies to us, even where it's like I feel like there isn't anything that we're all going through at the same time at any point. Like because we used to have like the weekly seasonal shows and the backlogs and stuff like that. So what the podcast used to be is just talking about things we're all going through. And now we're very like I was literally like just thinking about it because like you were literally tweeting about Shin Megami Tensei 3. And I was like interacting with that and being excited over that, literally just because it's like, oh my god, he's playing a game in a franchise, and I'm gonna play that game later this year, right? Like it's now like an event
Soon
that
we'll
we're
be on
going
the
through the
same
same
page.
thing.
Holy shit.
Exactly, like that's kind of what it feels like because it's kind of been a while since we all like. I mean, we literally game every week, but again, those are games that are more background. Like it's not like we're gonna sit here and be like, oh man, Left 4 Dead 2. Do you remember when that tank came in? Like, it's just the thing, it's just the thing we're doing.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 not a game we're playing for our own personal like media reasons that just happen to overlap. It's a game that we're playing to hang out,
Exactly right. So I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about because I feel like I think about it. I'm trying. So I don't think there isn't a manga that we're all reading. There's not a show we're all watching.
Well,
like,
me and Crafts are both reading Nagato and Anjo.
Oh no, there's stuff that we all
me
like.
and Crafts
Some of
are
us
both reading One Piece.
Yeah, One Piece.
Exactly. There's stuff, but it's only two of us and not all three of us, right? Like Vindy isn't caught up with Nagatoro or Anjo-san. Nun's not caught up with One Piece, right? Like it's just like we're all on our different screens. Like we come out to hang out and we're still friends. But I don't know, it's just something I was thinking about with just because we talked about this a little bit before, but in even like all of it in different ways. But it's not a problem, of course, but it's just like it's interesting. And it's hard to like quote unquote fix that because like especially like Vindy, you're perfectly happy doing like what you want to do and you're being free. And like I remember when I was talking about my horrific backlog, you're like, one day I just want you to be free, Craftsdwarf, and I'm like, me too, crying through tears. I say, yeah, I don't know. I interrupted a bit.
No, you're good. I mean, I just I feel that. I mean, I feel like almost the way that I almost see it is that, especially for the Weeb Club and for like us, what helped a lot was that from doing all those things together, we were able to kind of come to like a shared, like I was able to get a much better understanding of what you like, what you value in things. And I think we have like a shared philosophy that we all kind of have for how we view art for the most part. And then I just don't think like we necessarily need to like, okay, not to say there isn't benefit, because there definitely is like benefit to like all of us, I guess, doing something at the same time. But I don't think we need to do it in the same way anymore because like I could listen to you tell me something and trust, not necessarily in that he tells me this, I'm going to absolutely take it at face value that it will be my opinion, but I can trust that like I know where it's coming from and I know where you're coming from. Viewers at this point also kind of probably have that with us from this long extended period of us all talking about these very specific things and then going broader. And also, it is just that we aren't touching all like the exact same media anymore, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
It's almost like we're all in our like little Sabati, like we
yeah,
got
yeah.
our initial shit
in. And yeah, we're going out in our different ways in our media stuff. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and hopefully not only media but content as well. Smile.
Yeah, no. Oh, you see, you just reminded me is like I got fucking because like I was thinking about like if I'm spending more time on my channel because maybe I didn't talk about this here, but I talked about it on one of my last streams that like I mean right now it's better because I got a second job with a different caregiver agency, so I have more hours. So that should alleviate my financial worries. But I still think I'm going to carry on with like focusing a little bit more on my YouTube stuff. And but in the vein of like trying to be better about going into something as an excuse to make content about it basically, or rather using the excuse of making content about something as a way to get into something that I'm interested in. And I was looking at some stuff I was interested in. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll make a Star Fox video because I remember talking about like certain like colonial aspects of it. And I was like, well, some of us talked about that already. I looked it up and there's like fucking zero. So like there's a bunch of like general like retrospective videos that are talking about the history of it or just recapping shit. Maybe some of them have something interesting, but I was like, no one's talked about this about Star Fox, which is fair. There hasn't been a game like in like 8 years. Like no one gives a shit. Right? But it's like it was something that I thought was interesting when I played the games and was like, huh, there, So now, and I already wanted to finish the Star Fox franchise. So it's literally just like replaying like 2 games on top of what I was already planning to do to get footage and stuff. But it's like that might be a video. So but then I kept getting more ideas and I was like, fuck it.
Yeah, I feel that right now. I have the one that I'm working on that I think I'm at a point now where I don't have a full playthrough of the game that I've been recording. But honestly, I think I'm far enough now where I'm good to just start trying to write it because I hit like the halfway point of the game. And I think I do know most of the stuff. And I saw a scene that like I didn't know was even in the game because I didn't pay attention, but just there's essentially a boss intro cutscene that spoils what the end of the game is. And like after seeing that, especially, like I feel like it just a lot of stuff clicked, and like I'm ready to I think start working on that. And then I do feel like I have so many other fucking ideas I keep getting of like stuff, and I keep looking. It's like nobody talks about it, but so many of them are like so much work. Like I had an idea for a
absolutely
one,
yeah,
but it's like genuinely so much work to actually I think make the argument that that game probably deserves if yeah. Well, like, and it makes sense when you think about it that like the 130-hour long JRPG to actually give the level of analysis that it probably deserves would take a disgusting amount of time.
Oh no, just think about like how Tim Rogers does stuff. It's like he plays the games like how many times did he play Tokimeki Memorial, right? Like fucking 8,
Yeah.
And doing that for fucking Persona 5.
Well, and doing that when that can't be your full-time job, right? When I want to live a life and do other things. Especially because like I was thinking about it for Persona 5. And I'll just say this because no one's going to do this, and I don't feel bad saying this because this is such a genuinely real, I think, concept, but probably really out there. I think that you could probably make, because I was sitting there thinking about it and thinking about a conversation I was having on stream, because I'm going to shill them now while people are here, because I've been streaming. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I've been doing these, I've done 2 of them so far. Basically really long FF7 Rebirth streams where on days I'm free, I'm sitting down and playing that game for one day. It had to be a couple streams because like the internet died and the power died once. But it was like 11 hours in one session, and then the other one was 9. So I've done 20 hours in 2 streams of 7 Rebirth. And I'm only playing that game on stream, so I'm like continuing. And so it's funny because the first day I played 11 hours, and by the end of it, and I'm like 100% in the game, but I was like pretty much ahead or even with where everyone is. And I've barely played. Like I played only one day the last couple of days. So everyone is so far ahead of me now. So I'm excited to stream tomorrow because I think really anyone who joins is going to have seen everything I've been through already, as opposed to me being a lot farther ahead of where people are. But I was talking to people about like the Persona games and about how like 3 is I think benefits from the games like really linear in structure, right? There are like every month you do fight a boss, but the game doesn't kind of fit into month-long arcs. It has one narrative that very easily slots into a like 3 acts and continues on from month to month, as opposed to Persona 4 and 5, where there's new whatever there's a new dungeon, a new kind of arc every month. And what I realized when I was thinking about it is that like in Persona 4, I think, and 5, the reason is that it's arc based is because of what they're like kind of based off of, right? And so Persona 4 is television, so it's supposed to be episodic because it's like a TV show, right? Where you're supposed to be spending time and there's little slice of life moments and there's like the more serious moments, but I think it's supposed to be episodic because it's like fitting into that TV theme. And then I think Persona 5 is supposed to be like well, it is, but it's like picaresque like novels. And so all of the like main party member personas are based off of different like rebel fiction, right? Like there's like Arson is the main characters, there's like Zoro is like the mascots, there's Goemon, Captain Kidd, Carmen, like all these like characters with like books and books and like series around them. And so I think that it would be interesting to go in and read the books from the individual characters, tie those book series into the character arcs, while also making the point of the similarities, but just between picaresque like fiction and the way that those novels are structured, and kind of like most of them are episodic and they were serialized and they kind of went and they
like that's
that structure ties in with the Persona 5 structure. Like I think all of that, like outlaw fiction, I think that there's like something to be said there that nobody is tapping into, but it's because to tap into it would require reading a disgusting amount of books, doing probably a lot of like actual cultural looking into like what like the timing of like picaresque fiction and what it means and culturally what it did, and then tying specifically that into Persona 5, which would then take another playthrough of a 130-hour game and tying all that all in together. You know what I mean? Like that is a disgusting project that no one would ever do. So I don't feel bad explaining that, because that's not an idea anyone's used to.
Yeah, no, right, like because that's like I get those kind of ideas. And you've described some other ideas of like with the God of War was one you had where it's like just so much work to do. And what's really a neat idea, like in comparison, like the idea with Star Fox is like I've already played most of these. See, and I guess the other issue with me is also comes from the area of like if I get the idea too late, like what do I just record footage of every video game I play in case I come up with a video idea, right?
I have that problem all the time, and I just don't have hard drives for it. I would
absolutely right.
If I ever had a moment where I had like a lot of money and I knew that I was going to try to, I would just buy like 200 terabytes worth of hard drive space, genuinely, just so I could know I'm good, and just record anytime I play any video game ever.
It sucks. Yeah,
and you just have the fucking footage and you never have to worry about it.
No, because I'm so lucky that I had my idea, because with Shin Megami Tensei, with my favorite characters video, is I had the idea that even just chronicle favorite characters. My third game into the franchise with the first Shin Megami Tensei, because there was the Chaos Hero, who I really liked how his arc worked out, and like literally just he had a line at the end, like literally the last part you see him in the neutral route. And that just framed his whole character really well for me. And I was like, wow, yeah, I like this guy. Other than that, like the only other game so far that I haven't, because I've been recording footage from Last Bible 3 so far, because now I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to make this into a video. So I need to, but I'm really lucky because out of like the fucking 12 games I've played and finished, the only ones I would need to replay to get footage are the Shin Megami Tensei, which that's the only one that I feel like if I had recorded my first playthrough, I wouldn't have had this. I wouldn't have had to replay it. The other one is Shin Megami Tensei If, which is like out of the 4 routes, I played literally the one that I don't need to give a shit about, because there's the Yubi route. It like goes up to it's kind of like the normal route, and then there's the Reiko route, which literally is like that route, but with a slightly different character, and there's a whole ass extra like floor of the dungeon with a different final boss. So it's like it's the same thing basically. So so I'm really like that. So I'm really lucky that I only have to play one game 3 times that I was already planning on doing because I was interested in it was Shin Megami Tensei If, and then I just have to replay the first game, the first Shin Megami Tensei, where it's like because all the other games I've played, they don't have any of my favorite characters in the franchise, so I don't need like I like Shin Megami Tensei 2, but it didn't have anyone really stand out in the cast that I was like, yeah, I like this character. Or Majin Tensei 2, they had some fun interactions, but again, no standout character in that. So I'm lucky that I don't need to. But go ahead.
I am really curious about this, and I have a question to ask you in terms of this idea, but I need to pee really bad, so I need to go before I like make an accident in my pants. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, understandable. Did you know that rats actually pee a lot? Like they use it for scenting, and like I've heard that if you have a pet rat, like you can keep it on your shoulder, but have like a towel under it, so it won't fucking pee on all your clothes.
That's an interesting fact, Craftsdwarf. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cool. What overambitious ideas have you had for videos then? That you literally don't even feel like doing. I don't know. I know you've been working on some actually pretty ambitious stuff and getting through it. So actually, you're cool.
I mean, so like one video idea I've had is like essentially just, I mean, it's related to like Power World. I mean, I've told you about it. Just kind of like, first of all, playing like Pocket Pairs, like all of their games. Maybe aside from their card game, maybe just because like I really feel like even if I play that, I just really wouldn't understand like inspirations for that and like how card games work mechanically and like what it's taking from, and like I really just don't think I would get value out of doing that. But like Craftopia, they're like Breath of the Wild, Animal Crossing ish thing. And then also, obviously, Power World itself, playing Ark, playing Genshin, playing Breath of the Wild. I have actually already started playing Genshin, so I mean that's why it's in the thumbnail.
Oh, I was wondering why it was in the thumbnail.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna talk about it a little bit later, but I guess I could talk about it now. Like I'm actually like genuinely impressed with the game. Like I feel like it's one of those games where it's like easy to hear people like taking pot shots on and then kind of like dismiss it in your mind. Not even necessarily purposely. It's just like I've never thought about the idea of it being like a legitimately really well made and good game, because at least so far it like just is. Like genuinely looks really really nice. I think in a lot of ways it has stuff that like is more to my preference for that kind of game, because like it is like similar-ish to Breath of the Wild, except it's like more focused on having the characters like adventure with you, to the point where like they're always with you and you can always switch characters. So like, you know, at least so far they're consistently talking and consistently like meeting up and like interacting, and that just kind of makes the adventure better, like for me at least. Like I know some people like taking at their own pace and like, you know, just kind of making their own goals and like going wherever they want to go, but I feel like there's a little more direction with it so far. And like I feel like, you know, there's like more voice acting and stuff than I thought. Not that I didn't think there wouldn't be, but like I don't know. I just feel like there's like a lot of character to it. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty into it. I'm pretty early into starting it. Luna said something insane to me the other day when I mentioned it to him, where he said he's played like, I think he either said 70 or 100 hours, but he still feels like he barely played it. Like, oh wait, no, he said he played 70, and I think he said that because that's nothing compared to other Genshin people, he doesn't feel like he really got into it. I think he said you would really have to play like 100 hours.
I actually felt that. It was with Skyrim, and I put in 40 hours. Like, that's a lot more than like you know, a lot of other games that I've played. But it's weird for Skyrim. It's like I feel like I barely touched it, especially compared to how much I put into Oblivion. Like so yeah, I understand that feeling. Like yeah, okay, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like, it kind of makes sense in considering like the game isn't done yet. Like, they're supposed to have like I think 7 continents total for the game or something. I don't know where they're at, but they still have like a few more continents. Like maybe they have at 4 at most now, or 3 or something. But like it's a very like long term project, so like I'm sure like especially by the time it's done, having like 70 hours is like nothing. But I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun. I want to see where it goes. It's hard. It's honestly hard to imagine someone playing it on like a mobile device. Like it just feels like an actual like video game. So it's like I couldn't imagine wanting to use my phone for that. It feels like a disservice.
No, yeah, I've definitely had that feeling with certain like hearing that a game is mobile, and I'm like, because I'm just not a mobile gamer at all. I do not fucking care. Like I played some, like I played some Pokemon Go, but it's just like it is not a platform I want to game on. Ideally, like, and the only exception would be stuff like Pokemon Go, where I'm like out with friends, like as a community, more of a multiplayer thing, not definitely not a solo thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because obviously I literally have like fucking a dozen video game consoles and a PC. Why do I need to play games on my phone? You know, so, uh, yeah, but that's cool because yeah, I just had not really had any interest in Genshin Impact, but neat. Do you have anything specific things you like about the game so far, or more, or other ones that you didn't mention? Like anything about the story or characters that you
See,
know?
I'm too early into the story to really like know what it's doing. Like I only saw the gist of like, the main character gets their sibling kidnapped. In the opening cutscene, it does like a pause thing where it's like pick which one you want to be, and it decides which one gets kidnapped. Like if you pick the guy, the girl will get kidnapped. You pick the girl, the guy will get kidnapped. I picked the guy, so the girl got kidnapped. And then like, it seems like he's gonna like team up with the like Knights of Mondstadt, which is like the opening village or whatever. Like there's I don't really know much about the overarching like story just yet.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And also like it does seem like those like gotcha elements are like I'm kind of going to be safe from them, because like Luna was explaining, like most of the reason people care about those is because like you play the gotcha for more playable characters. But like even though I already have like 3 characters which are for free, I mostly just want to play with the main guy, because like I don't know, he's the main guy. It's the story about him, at least so far. So it's like I kind of don't even like, I only switch when I have to, but other than that, I like to just play as like the main person. So it seems like I probably wouldn't feel the need to do the gotcha stuff. And like like even though you can't play as those other characters that you get from the gotcha, you still see like their story and stuff. It's just like some people want to be able to play as the characters that they like really fell in love with or whatever. At least that's what it seems like how he described it.
Yeah, I gotcha. Because yeah, definitely like just thinking gotcha where you get characters. It's like you get the cute girl that you like, and that's how you win. That's how you win the game. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask you. So for the SMT.
Oh my God, how long have you been back?
A majority of that conversation. I just didn't want to cut in and just come back. No, it doesn't take me that long to fucking piss you.
Okay.
Well, no. I just I don't want to be rude.
I was about to make a joke about how like, man, Vindy sure is taking a long time to pee. Is he
God, I should have stayed quiet. That would have been so funny. You say something like that, and I just respond. No. So when it comes to like your favorite SMT characters, are you picking your ending in the SMT game based on like the character that you're like, I guess, the most into by the end of your
so for Shin Megami Tensei 1, I tend to be, in general I tended to go through the neutral routes, because from discussion it's not like, so in Shin Megami Tensei 1 it was because like Shin Megami Tensei 2 is said to be like a sequel because it follows the neutral route. There's a video apparently where someone talks about like it's more loose than that, in that isn't really necessarily a canon ending for a lot of Shin Megami Tensei games. That's just sort of like, looking at the franchise from the wrong perspective. But like for Majin Tensei 2, I went for the neutral ending because the GameFAQs guide mentions how that's the ending that has the most connections to Majin Tensei 1. So I thought that made the most sense to go for that ending because I played Majin Tensei 1. Like when normally I'd just write, if you were interested in like one of the older strategy Megami Tensei games, I'd just say play 2. Ignore 1. It's not good. It's rough. It's rough. I liked it. I had fun with it, but I would never recommend it. Where Majin Tensei 2, the issue is like play it with like a speed modifier on your emulator, so you can just skip the enemies' turns because they're really fucking slow. But other than that, it's pretty solid. But yeah, so like I said, I went to the neutral ending for that reason. Other than that, I don't think I've played because Megami Tensei 1 and no, they don't have they have like a there's some different endings there, and I tended to the ones that would I don't know. Another part of it is like more content because so in neutral for Shin Megami Tensei, you fight both the Chaos and the Law enemies. Where if you go to Chaos and Law, you only fight one of them. So you literally get more content if you do neutral in a sense because I mean in Law, so like in Chaos you go through the final dungeon, you still go through both floors, but you go to the Chaos side first to meet the boss of Chaos. I don't think you have to fight the bosses, or at least you don't have to fight the final one. I don't think. But in Law you have then you go fight the Law, and the final boss is the Law enemy. So that's part of the reason I'm choosing for Megami Tensei. But then especially I'm thinking of like again Shin Megami Tensei 3 is like, well, there's 6 endings. How am I going to do that? Am I just going to play the game 6 times? Like I already planned to play replay some of the games for footage, or because I want to experience other endings. Or some of them I have in my ultimate completion document. I do have like, hey, if I feel like a Shin Megami Tensei game, I can just replay and go for this ending that I haven't done before. But so far I don't think I've had one where I've just been like sending it just to see what ending I get. But I might do that at some point. Especially because like if I really want to like make I don't know, because I just haven't think about my favorite character video, and I'm not sure how complete I want it to be because it makes sense because like Persona has 2 different routes. The first one, and I really don't know about a lot of later games. Like I feel like from what I understand with at least Personas 3 through 5, you can get everything in just one playthrough, basically, like all the major content.
4 no. Well, I mean,
way,
yes and no.
I think you're gonna hate hearing this, but I think I decided what I'm gonna do for Persona 1 is I'm just gonna play the PS1 version, no changes, and do the normal route, and then I'm gonna play the PSP version and do the Snow Queen route.
When you're gonna play the fucking localized?
Yes,
oh my god, that's amazing!
That'll be a lot more fun.
No, I love that
because if I play it both times and then you play the PSP version and I get what the game should be like, and I do the Snow Queen route, which I've heard is like better. But then I get one time, and then I also, when I play the PSP version, I don't have to mod it. I don't have to like mod in the different music or anything like that. I can just try the PSP version as is, and I can play the PS1 version with Mark, my best friend.
Okay, that sounds really funny because I've heard. I mean, and then because there's I follow an account on Twitter where because someone who is working on the fan translation of the Persona 1, and because apparently like the Snow Queen path is done, the text and formatting for the Sebek path is done, so it's like the translation's almost done, so you could also like play it a third time by basically playing the Japanese PS1 version instead, so that way you can get like that sort of if you feel like it, because instead at least that way like your only experiences of the game aren't a weird version like an unmodded PSP version and the fucking American Persona Revelations. Oh my god, that's like playing the fucking NES Metal Gear or something, where it's just like it's kind of fucked. And it's like, why would you do? Because the MSX version is different from the American release
playing the NES Metal Gear if for some reason you had to play Metal Gear twice. So I chose to play once on the NES version and once on the the
MSX, or that version. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, and that's funny. So well, it'd be wild, especially if you like play those two games and then you get a Persona 2, but like that one you can only play. Well, unless it gets remade, which is possible because I believe that's been confirmed, semi-confirmed, leaked. I don't know. But yeah. Because I do remember you said you wanted to play all the Persona games.
I do
So
want to play them all. Yeah, at this point, I mean, but almost right now I'm more focused on doing all the modern
yeah.
Persona spin-offs because I'm playing
Oh.
Strikers right now, and I've played the dancing games. So then it's just doing the story for Arena, which I have like 20 hours in. Like I've played a shit ton of Persona 4 Arena, just mostly like with friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're doing the story for Arena, and then I just have to pick up. I have to play the Q games and play play Tactica, and then I've played all of. Because especially now that I've played 3, it's like, well, now I've played all the modern ones, so there's nothing stopping me from playing Q, because I know all the casts, and then it's like literally the only, because I've finished the first big dungeon in Strikers the other day, and so now it's like the only thing stopping me would be Tactica, and I like strategy RPGs, so I would imagine I would be surprised if I didn't have a fun time in Tactica. And I as much as I like to complain about things with Persona 5, and I think that game has clear flaws, it hit me especially with how hard P5S tries to capture like the vibe of playing Persona 5. Like the story of that game tries to feel like what it's like when you're doing story in actual like Persona 5, in terms of like presentation, as opposed to like Persona 4's spin-offs just turned into a VN, right? They stopped being like they don't look anything like the cutscenes in or scenes in Persona 5, but they do it in Strikers, and that hits really hard. And so I could see, even though Tactic is a different like visual style, it does surprise me how like I guess after 2 playthroughs of that game, 200 hours with them, maybe I am a little bit attached to the Phantom Thieves. Who would have thought?
Okay. No, yeah, I like it because yeah. I'll play all those games eventually anyway. Give me a year or two. Well, I mean, I will say I am going at a faster rate because by my original what's the word? Expectation, I was going to finish finish Shin Megami Tensei up to finish Nocturne, and then have like a little time at the end of the year, but not enough if I really wanted to finish Digital Devil Saga. But I'm way ahead on Last Bible 3 actually. Like I technically should have started it on like February 25th. Um, but I started it like a week before that, and I'm probably about halfway done now. I was yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I will end up playing Digital Devil Saga this year, and starting next year off with Persona 3. But we'll see.
I wonder if when you start getting to the PS2 and you get like you go from Nocturne to DDS to Persona 3 to whatever is after, probably I guess DDS 2 to like I don't know if you would go right to Persona 4 or wait till you get to Golden, but
no. So how I ordered it is basically I'm playing the games in their original release order, but I'm playing the preferred version. So I'm not playing. So I'm so basically right now it's like I basically go from.
So are you playing Reload then for P3?
I'm still interested in Fest basically because that's the version I'm playing. I'm playing when it released, like in my order, I'm playing it in the order that it originally released for the original Persona 3, same for Persona 4, but I'm playing Fest and Golden. Yeah. I'm also playing Royal. So, but then I do have some replays in there. Like I'm probably going to play Persona 3 Portable after, at some point because I'm interested in the female main character. And I'm definitely interested in Reload for sure. Especially if I really like Persona 3, which is very possible.
There's some stuff Reload does game that I just know Persona 3 doesn't do. Some of it is gameplay wise. And look, it's also possible you start Fest and you really, I mean, maybe you could just mod in the character control. But I would probably recommend, just from what I've heard of people, even though I hate that I'm even about to tell you this, I would recommend maybe trying the no party control and seeing if you can handle it, and if you are a normal person and it's the worst thing you've ever controlled because it is genuinely terrible.
One, I'm a freak. I'm not normal. And two, I feel like there's no way it's like the most painful to play
It just
Shin Megami
Reach-through
Tensei
is
game
kind of
that I've played so
frustrating,
far.
but that's also definitely true. It won't be the worst. But yeah, then like you get to like there is some like sick stuff in Reload that it does, but I guess I could understand getting to it later.
Well, and like I mentioned it's like a big reason why I'm interested in playing Fest is because it's different, right? Because it's from what I hear, it's like it's the only game in the franchise. It's those three Persona 3, or Persona 3 1 original version, Persona 3 Fez, and Persona 3 Portable are like the only games in the franchise where you can't control your characters, right?
Yeah.
Where it, like because every game before and every game in between those three and every game after has even the Reload has done that. So it's like as a unique like game design choice, I'm kind of interested in that because I think I talked about a bit with like bringing up my idea of like my Car Circus video that I'm probably not gonna reframe to something else of just like the idea of playing alternate versions and stuff because like it is less user friendly, right? But it is, there's something evocative about that as well. So I don't know. I'll see how I feel. See if I'm a weirdo. Because I will play Reload eventually. Like I'm sure because it seems to be overall a very well liked game and remake. Even if again there are people have issues with it. Like you mentioned the music.
Yeah.
And but yeah, no. Overall, it should be fine. Or yeah, we'll see. Because especially if I like it, because I mentioned we were chatting on the server and I was talking about how like it was Persona 5 or not Persona, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, right? Where that it feels like with that version, it's like there's no reason to have the original now. Like if you bought like or something
yeah.
like you're able to carry over 3 demons from the original. You can't even carry over your save if you have it on the Switch. So it's like it's so fucked basically. Where so and that game wasn't well received. Where but like as I realized talking with you about it, it's like well if I liked it enough, like I wouldn't have a problem as they were coming out playing Persona 4 and then playing Persona 4 Golden because it's like I already like the game. Of course I'm going to like the new version too, right? Especially if I like it as much as you guys, where it's like literally like one of your favorite games ever, right? So,
Yeah.
So in that case, like, playing it on release and then playing the remade version, like, I won't have a problem with that. But, in the case of like, yeah, Shin Megami Tensei 5, it's that there's that fear of like playing a game, not liking it, and then just having it completely, virtually just irrelevant, basically, because it's like, yeah, I could just buy Vengeance and just play the original content and then replay it and do the new content, and that's it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing, like it's so weird because like there's a part of me that like definitely agrees it's scummy, but also it's not new, and I hate people acting like it's a new thing.
Oh, of course.
I don't know. Like it is what it is. At the end of the day, a lot of times, the extra content, like I don't know. I think it almost goes back. Like it makes me wonder if I would rather have it how it is now with the Persona, because like so for the Persona 5 stuff, right? The extra royal party member is not in like she's DLC in Tactica, but she's not in Strikers, and it feels weird if you're playing that coming after Royal, which it did come out after Royal because it's like a direct sequel, and this character that definitively joins the Phantom Thieves and is a part of them is just not there and not mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and it's weird. It's definitely fucking weird.
I did not think about that actually. Yeah.
But I think that like the argument they could make is like, well, this way we can make it so that if you play Royal or base Persona 5, like you don't have to rebuy Persona 5. And I think that in that case, I almost understand why it's like that and think that like maybe that is better, even though like as someone who's played 5 Royal and 5 and bought both, not I think both for 60. I think I bought Royal at a discount, but I bought 5 at 60 when it came out. Like I think it's frustrating not having certain characters that I want in the Muso, especially when it's like a Muso, like it's an action game. Like part of the fun I feel like of it is getting to experience Persona 5 characters in this type of gameplay. Like I want to try someone who I think is fun. Like, characters, there are characters who aren't playable that make sense why, but especially the Kasumi, like she should be in Strikers. It's tough.
I was going to ask actually. Oh, sorry. Go and finish your thought.
No, just no. Say, ask your question actually.
So you played both Persona 4, Persona 5, and then Golden and Royal, right? Like you played
No,
all
I
four of
haven't
them.
played base Persona 4.
You haven't played base Persona. Okay,
No,
so but okay, at the very
I
least,
haven't played
between
PS.
Persona 5 and Royal, would you say that some of the changes were possibly made with like fan response in mind?
So potentially fan response in mind. I think what the feeling I get more, especially from 5 Royal, its extra content, is that I think a lot of it is actually them looking at Persona 5 and trying to ask questions about the story of the game. Like, I think that game kind of
Okay.
ended up where it was at after everything that went, because you know how like games are developed for so long, right? Where there's so many parts to it that some a part of the game could be developed, and then 6 years later they change how the game ends, but it's too late in development to change,
Yeah, yeah.
the start. And so I think that Persona 5 kind of feels a little all over the place at times because of that. Because that game, like, just you can see it even in the game files and in concept art and everything. That game went through so many changes and took so long and everything.
Yeah, I remember when the beta, when people found out about the Persona 5 beta, like there's fucking like grown up Nanako, the sister character from Persona 4. I don't know why I
Yeah.
explained it, even though both of you guys knew that. But like shit, yeah, there like tons
Yeah,
of plans that were just dropped, right?
and there's like things in beta footage for you to be living in a completely different place. And yeah, that game went through so many changes. There's stuff talking about palaces that weren't in the game. So I think that that game just kind of probably wasn't as concentrated. And so Royal is interesting because the Royal content, a lot of it is just kind of them directly like asking questions about what happens in Persona 5 and trying to like take it one step further. And it's way more like a reflection on what Persona 5 was as it was, like as it was, like what Persona 5 is as a story when it came out, and like what I guess like would people doing this in the real world, what does that mean, and like stuff like that. And I think it's a really cool it's really cool extra content, and I like it a lot. And I don't think you necessarily need to play both versions to get it, because I think as long as you are aware that like these are because most of the extra Royal content can be looked at as like it's one area that wasn't in the game, and so anything that takes place in that area is new. And there's like a bunch of side content there, but all the side content in that area is new, right? It's the change to Akechi's social link, so anytime it's Akechi's social link, as opposed to him showing up in a story sequence, that's new. And then it's Kasumi and the like clinician at the school. Those are like the new things. And anytime it's something related to that or that story, it's new content. Anything else is based Persona 5. And the new content, like genuinely, and maybe it was easier to tell for me as someone who played both versions, the new content felt like such a massive step up in quality. It was crazy.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I was just thinking about it from the context of like, you know, like hypothetically, if they just sat on Persona 5 for longer, would Royal have come out and not Persona 5? Like, but then, like, yeah, if some of that was like, like it, because again, also comparing it to Shin Megami Tensei 5, where it's like the game came out, it wasn't well received. Like there was I saw a clip from one of the developers talking, or maybe the director talking about how it's like, yeah, there are a bunch of like ideas, thrown around, but like and just that they were able to implement more, like just just I don't know, just different. I'm just thinking of it from the developing philosophy of just like how can we because back in the day I guess like this definitely happened to a degree. Like I remember because one of the discourse things is people talk about how like Pokemon Stadium and Coliseum looked better animation wise and model wise than in some ways than the modern Pokemon games. But one of the and obviously like one of the issues with that is just like volume of Pokemon. But another issue is that people forget that there's 3 Pokemon Stadium games because we didn't get the first one. It was half finished. They were planning to like there was literally going to be like I think the N64 CD or so, there was like a planned extension to the N64 that would have allowed it to basically they wanted to make DLC for the original Pokemon Stadium to finish the game because like you literally couldn't like use a bunch of Pokemon in the game. So the version we got, Pokemon Stadium 1, is actually Pokemon Stadium 2. And so I was just thinking about that in regards to like, well, because if you look at like Coliseum and XD and go, wow, these animations look really cool. Those are, Coliseum still uses a lot of elements from Pokemon Stadium on that 64, even if they update like the models and stuff. But like they're models that went through like we're talking like 4 development cycles for these models. So it just there's like a level of imbalance there when comparing it to like the new Pokemon games where it's like, yeah, the animations are generally they're very generalized so that they look fine on any Pokemon even if they don't look as good as like Hitmonlee literally doing a kick animation for Mega Kick or something, right? So so I was just wondering with these updated versions, like, can you just have better development cycles to make a fully finished game from the start? Probably, hopefully that's what, ideally what the yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And so some of this is also like probably more dev time is what they needed to make these things a reality, I guess. But if I'm being honest, I'm almost more interested in, and some of it I think is cut because of, they just decided to go a different way with it and whatever. But personally, with a lot of what I see from Persona 5 in development, it seems like I'm not as interested with what was cut in development, but as opposed to like
what was added, right?
no, like
oh no, okay.
what an earlier version of the game would have looked like. Like the game's entire makeup and like personality kind of changed, not entire, but parts of it changed as it went through development. I'm more interested, just specifically with that release, in what it would have looked like if the entire vision that they had earlier in the project was made and came out, as opposed to a game that was partially the earlier vision, partially like a middle vision, and partially the later vision. You know what I mean? Like
I think I see what you mean. Yeah.
If they could have taken this original design, had the time to make it, but not changed it too much and just made that as a game. But also part of like those things with Persona changed all the time, because I saw stuff for like Persona 3, like stuff that was cut for that game in development, and that game originally was gonna have like Persona 1 and 2 like isometric camera angle. Like there's beta footage of that game where it has like battles in the isometric view that you get in 1 and 2. And like even like exploring Tartarus looks like that, and then like Tartarus was just like the school. So that game got changed like a huge amount, and I think Tartarus and the ways that game got changed were better for it. So like who's to say that original version of Persona 5 would have been better? I guess it probably would have been worse, and that's why it was changed. But there's just like visuals and ideas, story ideas that I think are interesting that I would like to see, but it's definitely not
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Because like there, like I don't know, like there are some games where the question is always just like, what if they had more time? I guess.
Yes, that's especially.
Like,
I mean, Pokemon.
I think is one. Yeah, Pokemon is one. There's just always people like to ask those for certain. Yeah, Melee I think is a good one. Halo 2 is a great one. When you hear what they talk about, like what would Halo 2 have been like if they had started that shit, or if that game had been like what they wanted it to be. Like when you hear them talk about their plans for Halo 2, they say that the game that came out was like, especially multiplayer wise, like such a neutered bastardization of what.
Oh my god, that's wild to think, especially considering how sensational it was.
Crafts, they completely had to like restart that development of that game. I think like 14 or 16 months before it came out, and they like were scrambling. Like that game is known for having one of the biggest rushed like crunch jobs in like video game history. Like,
okay, that makes sense.
How quick they had to get that game out the fucking door, because it had to launch,
with Xbox Live, right?
Yep, with Xbox Live.
Fuck yeah, no, I forgot about that. It's been a while since I thought about Halo development stuff, but yeah.
But like that's a game that I would have loved to see, because they had a whole other plan for the ending that sounded crazy. And originally, Master Chief and Arbiter were supposed to meet in that game, and it would have completely affected the way Halo 3's story went down, right? And so I would be interested to time hop to the world where Halo 2 was able to come out how it was, and then we get that version of Halo 3, play those games. But also, if that Halo 2 would come out how they wanted, would Halo 3 be like the fucking 10 out of 10 game it is today, you know, if it wasn't coming after the Halo 2 that it came after. And so I think, you know, there's all those questions, but there are definitely games sometimes where it's like I think you learn about their development, and it's always more so like, you know, you end up more interested in what was going on earlier in development than later.
Yes.
So
yeah. What else do you guys want to talk about? None.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to interrupt before, so.
No, I appreciate it.
I could talk a little bit more about Final Fantasy VII, just some of the things that game does.
You absolutely could.
That game a little bit harder. I think that game is insane. It genuinely feels like, okay, I loved Final Fantasy 16, and I think that this console generation, Square have kind of been gods, like untouchable. This console generation, if they can get Kingdom Hearts 4 out this gen, they're untouchable. Dragon Quest 12 and then Kingdom Hearts, and they're like who can compete with the goats. But like, as much as I loved FF16 for what that game is, this FF7 Rebirth is a fucking RPG, brother. Like, I don't agree that FF16 isn't a Final Fantasy game. However, I think I completely understand what people meant last year when they were saying this doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy playing 7 Rebirth. 7 Rebirth feels like if you took everything that goes into making a PS1 RPG and you stretch that to fit on a PS5. There is a card game. There is a board game. There are like 3 different kinds of mini games I found so far, and I'm not even at the mini game hub. I spent 11 hours in the first big open area. There are combat challenges. Every enemy like actively like fights differently, and like one thing that I'm having a lot more fun with in this game than Remake, and it genuinely is making me want to replay Remake, but I'm not doing it anytime soon.
Didn't you just replay Remake?
Yes. But here's the thing. The first time playing through Remake, I played it like an action game, and my second time, I kind of just blitzed through the game for the story, and like halfway through switched to easy. I'm trying to, because I realized kind of late through my second Remake playthrough that I think I was making the game intentionally harder for myself by not engaging enough with the game. So I think Remake is a game that wants you, the way that plays, it wants you to treat individual action encounters closer to RPG encounters in terms of how you think about it. It wants you to think about every enemy differently, think about what they're weak to, how they play, and like how you need to counter them to get their stagger. You're not supposed to just go in there almost like Kingdom Hearts and just avoid their attacks, fucking smack them down and play the game, you know? And so it wants you to like actually make a plan based on enemies and assess every enemy and think like that. And so the only reason I want to replay Remake would be to see if playing it like that makes me like that game's combat more, because I'm having so much fun with Rebirth. Because I'm doing that in Rebirth, and like I'm assessing every enemy the first time I get to them. I'm focusing on their weaknesses. I'm trying to focus on like doing what you need to stagger them and fight them normally. And I'm having a lot more fun with combat in that game. And then just like every other part of that game is so like, there is so much in there. I don't know what Nomura does with the games he makes, but he really like just throws so much in there. And like, it's so perfect. Like for what I want from like a JRPG, like if you were to give me a modern JRPG that I guess isn't turn-based, right? Like you have like the 2, there was like Persona 3 just came out. And for a game that plays it like very traditional and straight with a lot of the things, right? Like there's no background party member XP. You don't see the non-party members when you're running around. Stuff like that. And then you get Rebirth, where there is background party member XP, and you see the gang walking around and they're chatting, and like the game looks so fucking good, and I love the story. And one thing that the game does, that Remake does, that is so fucking good for the party dynamic as a whole, is that in the PS1 game, just due to I think text limitations and size limitations and everything, it was a lot harder for individual party members to have relationships with each other outside of Cloud. And Rebirth is spending a lot of time giving Aerith and Tifa relationship, and Barrett and Tifa relationship, and Barrett and Retta relationship, and Aerith and Retta relationship, and Aerith and Tifa relation, or Tifa and Retta relationship. I'm sorry, and Barrett and Yuffie a relationship, and Tifa and Yuffie have a relationship. Like all the party members outside of just Cloud spend time together and talk together and have a dynamic, and it makes the party as a whole feel way richer and way fuller. You know what I mean? It's not just like Aerith teases Cloud sometimes and Tifa kind of teases Cloud sometimes. It's Aerith and Tifa tease Cloud together and have fun together, but also there's like some scenes where it's a little weird between them because they both like clearly like are into Cloud. And you know, there's like little things that RPGs don't do a lot that I fucking love. Like you get cutscenes when you get to a town where the scene goes, where the party goes to an inn and go to their rooms, and that you see them go and like it sounds like there's so much flavor you can give when you care and you do this right. Where you get to and it's something Kingdom Hearts does with its characters, where it will show you the party reacting, and it's only 3 characters in the party, but it's something I'm realizing now, like ranting about it, that Kingdom Hearts loves to give you as many little scenes showing Sora, Donald, and Goofy being friends and growing that friendship as possible. And by the end of the game, by the end of 1, by the end of 2, and then especially like, you know, as it goes, you totally buy the Half Pint Trio as these great friends, because every time they get somewhere new, they enter a new screen, whatever, it will give you a little cutscene of them talking, being happy, being friends, you know what I mean, and like goofing off each other. And Remake does that, or Rebirth does that, I mean, but it fits it into the context of a fantasy JRPG journey. So you get to an inn and they walk up to the counter, you know, and the guy's like, you know, you know, you need whatever, 2 beds or 4 beds, looking at everyone. And Red 13's like, I need a fucking bed too. I'm a person, motherfucker. Or, you know, you like walk into an inn room and they're like, you know, Aerith and Tifa are like, we're roommates. And you get to see them go into the girls' room and have a little conversation and go to bed. And then Cloud, Red 13, and Barrett are in like their room. And Red 13 jumps on the fucking bed right away. And Cloud's like, sucks to suck, brother. I'm taking this bed though. And so Barrett's got to sleep on the couch. Like you get these little scenes of them like adventuring and being a party together that you don't normally
sounds
get in
fucking awesome.
And it grows like everything.
It's what you're supposed to just imagine while you're playing like the original or the classic games. Because I think about fucking one of the things from Gintama is Gintoki's rant about JRPGs, about how like, you know, like, oh, you modern motherfuckers spoiled by your cutscenes. Back in the day, we had imagination, and just being a super boomer over it. And this is like, I like the way you say it, where it's like very much a modern JRPG, where it's like it's breathing that imagination to life. Like it's using less of the abstraction and just like, here's what you were already thinking about, imagining, because you cared about these games and loved them so much, right? So, and it's just making that real.
That Gintoki rant is so true, because like when I played the early Final Fantasy games this year, I didn't start off doing that. When I was like playing Final Fantasy 1, I didn't start off doing that. But around either the end of that game, start of Final Fantasy 2, I realized like, oh, these games are way more fun if as you pick the moves and you see everything happening, you add to it in your head. You know what I mean? You like create a battle in your head based off the representation of what you're seeing on screen. And I really think that Final Fantasy VII Remake, like Rebirth especially, but I think Remake was trying to do it too. Remake is just adapting the most boring part of its source material.
Unfortunate.
It really is like if they took what like okay, if you played FF7 and the game is also crazy. Okay, I'm saying all this. You cannot play Rebirth unless you have played the original Final Fantasy VII. Remake and probably Crisis Core. You can probably skip Crisis Core if you saw the Zack flashback scene in OG FF7, but if you didn't see that, you might still be confused and you might have to play Crisis Core. Because it's definitely FF7 3, if not FF7 4. The first 45 minutes of that game are psychotic. I cannot believe that's how that game starts.
See, what you're making me, or do you have more to say on?
Sorry. I was just gonna say.
Go ahead. You're good.
It feels like if you played FF7 and just exactly what you would imagine in your head. Like it feels like the developers played the game a bunch of times and they took what they imagined in their head, adding to the game, and they just made that a game. And it's so fucking fun and so good, and like it really, I have sat down and played that game for 11 hours and 9 hours. Both times I stopped because basically it was like I hit a point where if I kept playing, I would have to be stuck in like 3 hours of playing or more, and I was tired and had to go to bed. So those were both times I stopped playing. It's crazy. It's genuinely like, and I'm playing it with like the biggest, goofiest grin on my face the whole time. The game's funny. I'm laughing constantly. Like, the characters are great. The localization's fucking great. One thing it does, that's like a small thing, but genuinely like fits and works. And I saw someone explain this on Twitter better than I could have. It's just that, like, you know, swearing isn't super common in Japanese culture, right?
Yes.
But we swear all the time, especially adults. So if I'm seeing a fantasy adventure with adults and they're going around fighting shit, and one of the guys has a gun for an arm, I'm gonna expect that party to drop a couple assholes and a couple shits. You know?
Yeah, no, well, it's funny you mentioned that because the translation I'm using for Last Battle 3, I don't mind it using language generally for exact same reason. But there was like a part where one of the characters, Rudy, he's like very much a child, like probably around 10 years old. And I wrote down the line because it made me laugh because he just goes, "Shit, mom." And I'm like, Rudy, you're not allowed to swear. Like, but they don't address it because that was a very much like a translation liberty, and I don't. It was one where I don't feel like again, like you said, soldiers swearing, that's one thing. A 10-year-old boy to his mother, like that should be addressed, right? Like, but it wasn't, so it doesn't. Like, I just like it's so funny
when you do Cloud's limit break. He says, "Let's go, asshole."
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like
perfect.
He's,
it's perfect, and it genuinely adds so much. It makes it feel so like real, like. Yes, Cloud would call him an asshole. He's trying to kill him. Like, it's perfect.
Of course.
I love it. I love it. I genuinely like. Look, there have been some times. I'm not gonna lie. There are still that game can be really frustrating at times. There have been a couple moments where just combat has been like really frustrating, and you're getting hit or staggered by enemies off screen. And it's possible that maybe you can outfit yourself with materia and stuff to really like mitigate a lot of that. There is still a lot of annoyance in the game, but there's also like 4 different kinds of upgrade systems. So like, am I really supposed to complain? It's perfect, you know? Like, I love it. It's so good. It really is just like I can't recommend the game enough, but I refuse to recommend it the way Square do. And I feel like people aren't smart enough to understand that, like, they'll go, well, Square Enix told you can play it starting from there because they want your money. They want you to buy the game.
Yeah. Right, they like new thing, buy new thing. Yeah.
Oh, let me buy FF7 now and start that, and then if I finish that, I'll buy Remake, and then if I finish that, I'll buy Crisis Core, and then in 3 months, Rebirth will be $20 less. I buy it then, and I play it then. They're gonna tell you no, you should start with Rebirth right now on launch. You know what? The deluxe edition is kind of better. If you start with that, the little summon material you get from that kind of maybe makes you understand the story a little bit better, right? Like that's what they're gonna fucking tell you. They're not gonna be honest. You should not start with that game. You have to play FF7 and like Rebirth and probably Crisis Core. I just can't say that because I haven't played it. But I know like everything.
You have to play all the games except this one I didn't play.
Well, no, there's 2 because I didn't play Dirge Cerberus either. But the big things in Crisis Core that like I would need to know that I don't are like, or the 3 are just like the characters like Angeal, Zack, and Genesis, and I know all about them. I've read enough on the wiki, so I'm like.
He read the wiki, guys.
I'm just not. Yeah, I haven't played the game, but I will eventually. Probably after Rebirth. Look, again, that's why I'm saying you don't necessarily need to play Rebirth. Or Crisis Core. I think you would only need to play it, if you don't see the like Zack cutscene in 7, right? Because so essentially, there's a lot of Cloud's backstory in 7, that you can skip if you don't. In disc 3, go back into a house in I think Nibelheim, but maybe it's Gungaga. There's somewhere there's a house, maybe it's Calm, where if you go back in, you get a bunch of extra scenes that explain a lot of backstory of the game. If you see that, you won't be confused for stuff in Rebirth. But if you don't see that scene and you don't know who Zack Fair is, you will not know what is happening for the first 45 minutes of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm sorry.
Unfucking fortunate. Or go ahead and finish up with Final Fantasy, and then I'll.
I don't know how much. If everything I'm saying has made you interested at all, at any point tomorrow, post like 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Go to twitch.tv/VindyVondo. I will be streaming it all day.
Nice, nice. But I don't know, you're just making me think about it because, like, when you were talking about like, oh, the imagined what you realized playing for Final Fantasy and just imagining the world, I literally have a whole fanfic idea that was inspired from when I played Dragon Quest One of just me basically like novelizing it and turning the story of Dragon Quest One into a fanfic, and I literally have a bunch of jots down regarding like, oh, how can I use like the Staff of Rain and the Stone of Sun like symbolically, or like what just trying to make it into an actual like story. Because yeah, while playing it, I had a lot of just moments like that where I'm just like in the picture. I have a very specific picture I'm envisioning in my head that is purely from my imagination. The other thing I was thinking about is just how it's like, man. Because I really did grow up on JRPGs because I played so many of them in elementary and middle school and high school on like a lot of Game Boy Advance mostly, like Pokemon, Golden Sun, Breath of Fire 2. And I'm just thinking about it now. And it's like of all the game franchises I've interested in, I like there's so many. There's so many, but I feel like RPGs probably have a bit of like a higher weight to them for me, where it's just like I really want to like because getting me more hyped up to play Final Fantasy. But I still want to fit Dragon Quest. I'm really excited for because like I was thinking about it. It's like, oh, maybe I could play more Dragon Quest and as an excuse and do a video about it because like what my favorite characters or analyzing the games because especially Dragon Quest 4 because I thought about Dragon Quest 4 we mentioned because there if you ever play Dragon Quest 4 make sure that you get the modded version for the DS that has the party chat because that's exactly what you want
Oh,
what
I
you're
love
looking
party
for.
chat. I love party chat. That was like my favorite thing in DQ11. When I tell you I was checking that party chat menu so often that it definitely added like 5 hours to my playtime because I would check after every like level, anytime any minor thing happened, I was checking party chat to see if those fuckers had something new to say. That is my favorite Dragon Quest mechanic. I love that shit.
Yes, but I just wanted to mention it because specifically for Dragon Quest 4, it has to be modded into the game because it's
Okay.
not in the actual official English release. But apparently it was all translated. They just didn't include. I don't know. I don't know how it happened or if it was a fan translation or what. But it is possible to play Dragon Quest 4 with the party chat. I just wanted to because I did not because I couldn't get the patch to work for some reason. Um, and but I still like the game a lot. It's still my favorite Dragon Quest game currently. But I don't know, just think about like because there's obviously so many other JRPG franchises and they're interesting and yeah, I like JRPGs and I think they're cool and good. So yeah, um, that's it. Um, None, did you think of anything you want to talk about? Because you've just
Yeah,
been
we've been
quiet,
kind of
which is fine, and we've been dominating discussion.
Um, I can't think of anything.
Unfortunate.
You know what? I'm gonna put you on the spot when you're gonna finish remake, so you can play Rebirth.
I need to
understand.
replay the original FS7.
I understand that remake has some issues. I'm not even gonna deny it. Here's actually what I will tell you, and I'm being as dead ass as possible. Put remake on easy, blast through that bitch. It sucks. Get to the go. You just need to see the cutscenes. Just do most of the side quests, especially in Wall Market, 100% Wall Market, because that is, yeah, that area in remake is as good as everything in Rebirth. Like that's the one. Like, yeah, Rebirth is like if you took Wall Market and you took the level of quality that fucking tiny little like 3-hour area is in Rebirth. Or remake, I mean, and you made all of Rebirth that level, and it's just like dude, I can't get over it. I really, like, I can't believe how crazy that game is. Like, I'm genuinely stunned. What they fucking did.
I mean,
Nice.
yeah, like, I mean, the biggest thing that's holding me back from FF7 and remake, Rebirth, Crisis Core and stuff is really just like wanting to beat Persona 5 Royal first. Like, I don't really want to play FF7 at the same time as that. And then now I'm like also playing Genshin, so it's like, like it's not like obviously Genshin isn't the same kind of game, but it's still like a very long game without an ending in sight. So it's just kind of like.
Well, no, I mean, so there is an ending eventually because so from my understanding, sorry, I didn't mention it earlier when we were talking about Genshin, but like I have a bunch of friends who are big Genshin fans, and the way that like all of them, and they've been playing Genshin since like 2019, so you have years of content to catch up on. But from my understanding, most of the time, there is a story point, at least with Genshin, where you catch up, and then it's just doing like your dailies or whatever. And it really is like you can wait for new content. So like eventually you will catch up to Genshin and just be waiting for the next big release every time.
I mean, yeah, but it would still take me a really long time because most of the time when I play, it's only like 30 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I start sitting down for longer to play, it's still going to take me a while.
Fair enough.
Yeah. You watching anything neat or?
I mean, I finished Food Wars season 2.
Right, you have been watching Food Wars.
Still good. I mean, like, at least from what I can tell, I think season 2 is generally the most liked. I think. Maybe that's season 3, but I think it's 2. It was really good. Like, it's probably better than season 1, only just because like season 2 it's shorter and it's literally just like the tournament that they were doing. And that's what pretty much every episode's about. So there's like not that much downtime. Every episode is like a battle between a character, not necessarily the same characters, but they're all in the same tournament and stuff. So it was good. I mean, like, I don't know. Food Wars isn't like a show that I have that much to say about. It's just like consistently entertaining. What I did like that happened in season 2 though, which is like, I guess like kind of a minor spoiler, but whatever. They use that thing of like Soma basically like having one last twist to his dish, and like usually that makes him win. Like his dish will like transform, and then like it'll be like, oh shit, here's why my dish is like better and gonna win. But he did that, and it like made the judges like it a lot more, but he actually still didn't win, which was like a cool twist, I guess. Like he still narrowly lost. Yeah, it's a good show.
You guys talking about it has made me want to it's made me partially want to reread it, but also the idea of watching it has kind of made me want to watch it. But I'm
just more into the idea of watching it. I don't know.
I've been kind of itching to watch some anime recently, but I don't know what kind, and so I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but I was watching a bunch of Godzilla movies, and that was
maybe you did mention it, but I kind of forgot.
I was trying to watch through Destroy All Monsters, and I got distracted. And so I watched like 3 of them. I watched so it was the first one after Godzilla vs. Kong, I don't remember, and then Mothra vs. Godzilla, and then King Ghidorah I watched. Hold on, I know I have the list up here. Okay, sorry. I watched. Oh no, okay, yeah, never mind. I only watched Mothra and Ghidorah, but those are fun. No, I watched Invasion of Astro Monster as well. Actually, I'm a liar. I was on a bureau. So those are so silly. I love Godzilla movies. It just every time I watch like a disaster movie like that, it makes me wonder like what is it like to be a normal person living in like
that world.
Yeah, like imagine just having to go to work knowing that at any time Godzilla could just show up and wreck your shit. Like,
see, I think about that.
How do you get the strength to buy a car or a house? You know, like right? Knowing that, like, or how do insurance companies have to be the fucking whipping boy, you know? Because everybody has insurance, but insurance companies have no money, so everyone just hates insurance. God.
I was thinking about that, but in the context of like Super Sentai and Precure shows, because it's like, you know, they're kind of in the same universe, but they kind of aren't. So, you know, like people just kind of like the way people just accept things in stride and just keep going, but also it's like a normal world. But there's like, you know, that thought of like, well, what if it wasn't a normal world, right? Of just like, you know, because there are series that go more into that where they take it a bit more seriously, you know, more directly, and just like, well, what would the world look like if this was a more common thing, right? And I'm fine with both approaches, obviously, but it's fun to think about. I agree.
Yeah, And there's and so part of that, I don't know why I know why I always like conflate the two in my head, but watching the Godzilla movies made me want to start trying to watch more mecha, also because I just have so much of it fucking downloaded. And Armored Core 6 was so sick that since then also I've been thinking about it. So I might try to give Gundam another shot, but we'll see.
Okay.
That does not sound like a good show to come back to anime with, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but I just want to see big robots, you know? I think, realistically.
I feel like, consider, if you're going to get into Gundam, a possible starting point might be G Gundam.
I think I might do that. I think I might just watch
gotcha. Because to explain, because like, I've only seen the 79 in Zeta, and I like 79. But I mostly think because G Gundam, like, I remember talking about with my brother, because he's mentioned an interest in Gundam before. But what he didn't tell me until more recently, like literally like last year, was that he and his friend got really into G Gundam when it was airing on Toonami, and like and I never knew about it. Like he just never told me, and but because I think it was funny because he's literally joking about people thinking like he's just talking about how political it is and how it's like hard for him, like he needs to be in the right mindset to get into a regular Gundam series because it's a lot. Where G Gundam is more of like a battle action show. So, if you just want to see giant robots just smacking the shit out of each other, that sounds like the one you want to check out.
Gundam, and I love, like, I don't know, you've seen the G Gundam main character, right?
I know bits about, yes, like, I've seen him.
That is a main character design that was made.
He's got a red headband.
Yeah,
like,
hello, he's so cool.
And I also remember you tweeted a scene where he like dislocates his own arm to get out of something in a mech battle or something.
Yeah, that's in the first episode. I have seen of that, which goes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so it just sounds like it's a very like like that sounds like it's right up your alley if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So
the only problem with mega series always just comes back to it's like 50 episodes and like I'm mentally unwell, but maybe
as far as Gundam, like G Witch was pretty recent and it's only like 20 something episodes, so that one might be easier to get into, just jump into. Again, it's less of the I don't know, just thinking aloud.
Okay, on the topic of companies selling things based on older IP as newcomer friendly, do you have a stand about it in general, considering that in some cases it's true and in some you need prior knowledge? So I think it depends. Obviously, the problem is in terms of on companies doing it, you have to just understand that they will always tell you to buy the newest thing, spend money, right?
Yes.
Make their numbers better, make their stock better, because even if you spend $60 on Final Fantasy VII Remake, so say that game's $20, you buy 3 copies of Remake, it's better for their stock or say you buy 4, so you spend $80 on it and you give Square $80. It's better for their stock if you buy 1 copy of FF7 Rebirth. You know what I mean? Because that goes into their earnings call for, this game added this many sales, this much money. So they want you to buy the newest one and help them in that way. So you just never want to listen to them. And then, like, I would say listen to the creator, but obviously with video games especially, a lot of times the creator is an employee of the companies and wants to keep his job. So it's hard because, like, sometimes there are some series, like Final Fantasy, you can just play any game. You can just pick up FF16. It's funny to say that, I guess.
Unless it's called Rebirth after you were just ranting about...
obviously, the difference is with Final Fantasy, you should look at numbers as their own series as opposed to individual numbers being parts of the series, right? So FF16 and 14 are different. But you can't start FF14 with Endwalker either, right? That would be psychotic. You have to play 14 all the way through.
Yeah. I was also just had another thought regarding because I guess like one slight difference with Final Fantasy there's the Evalis setting, which is like you can start with Final Fantasy 12 even though it's not the first game in that setting. It's just another I was just thinking about because Vagrant's story isn't a Final Fantasy game, but it takes place in a setting that is a Final Fantasy
then
setting.
Play FF11 because isn't 11?
Ooh.
No, I don't think it is actually. I'm stupid.
Okay, yeah,
I
don't know.
It's 12 in. I think it's just 12 in Vagrant. It's 12 Vagrant story and tactics.
Yes, tactic. Yeah, so yeah, but
So
because
I think it's Tactics on 11,
there's
yeah.
two 12 games because there's also the Remnant or was it Remnant Wings? No,
Last
that's not
Remnant.
correct. Last Remnant. I mixed it up with something
Yes.
else that's called
And
Remnant
then
Wings.
there's the Evil East raid in 14.
Oh, that gotcha. That
Yeah,
okay,
there's a
yeah,
raid in Stormblood that's returned
yes.
to Evil East.
Because I have my list of Final Fantasy games that I'm
I can't wait for you to
and
get to 14 and then we do all the raids together.
I mean I gotta get through 11 first.
No.
The disappointment in your voice, just but also realistically, I have to get through Shin Megami Tensei, Dragon Quest, and Pokemon first because I already started those, and yeah, unfortunate. But I'm in. There's again like the Trails series. I'm also interested. There's Mana. The fucking Tales.
No,
Like
Lunar. Don't say that to me. That's insane. That's psychotic. That would be like telling someone to buy like Hyrule Warriors as their first fucking Zelda game.
is with Build Fighters?
Isn't Build Fighters like fucking fan service where the actual mechs they're building are all different Gundams from
They are
different, like,
references to other Gundam series.
yeah.
Yes. So
Like
I'm
yes, you
sure.
could start with Build Fighters
Yes.
and have a good time, but I feel like, and my general philosophy with media is that for the most part, if an experience is going to be like greatly increased by experiencing other things first, I would rather experience the other things first so I don't have to experience that one thing twice.
So here's my take on it. So like, because when I think of Build Fighters being a reference to like all the previous Gundams because it references their mech designs, my first thought was actually like because Precure and Super Sentai and Kamen Rider also have their anniversary series where they reference back to the previous shows. And my thought on that is because like, so if the show spoils it, well, no, let me explain. So, because obviously, if the show spoils it, like then you'll get that enhanced enjoyment by having watched those previous shows. But Zenkaiger doesn't actually spoil any of those shows, and like it's a perfectly valid show to just watch, even if you won't recognize a lot of the imagery necessarily. Because I don't know, the thought I had with Build Fighters is as long as it doesn't spoil this stuff, like because hypothetically, if you watch Build Fighters first, you could watch it in the sense of like if I like a mech design, I'm going to watch that show. Right, like you could, that's a way you could experience it basically. Because I thought about that in regards to those like sort of anniversary shows and just watching, watching Zenkaiger and seeing a suit design that you like and being like, I want to watch that show, right? Like that's a way to experience those kind of things. So I don't know. I don't expect Build Fighters to spoil. I mean, maybe it's the characters just because Gundam is fictional in that world. So if they just fucking talk about Gundam and spoil the shit out of it, then yeah, you want to have that experience. But so go ahead and finish.
So it's not that Build Fighters spoils mech designs. It's that in my head, the appeal of Build Fighters is getting to watch this mech from Zeta Gundam fight this mech from Turn A. And then you see this mech from G Gundam fighting this one from like 79, right?
Okay.
Like it's essentially getting to
sense.
see the dream match of all these different robots. And I feel like because it's a children's show, right?
Yes.
So if I'm watching the Gundam children's show where the different robots fight for the robot fights, I would rather care about the robots fighting than the children's show aspect. And so I don't see why I would watch it when I care, I guess, right now about neither. Versus if I watch it after watching a couple other. Because look, and it's not like I'm not going to never watch Gundam at some point in my life. Because first of all, I like political fiction, and second of all, giant robots are fucking cool. Like at some point, some switch will fucking flip in my brain, and I'll be able to sit down and watch Gundam, and then I'll watch Build Fighters, and like turn my brain off and be a fucking monkey, and be like, ooh, robot. But until then, I can wait. And right now, I'll wait, and eventually, the brain will the switch, and my brain will flip, and I'll be able to watch more giant robot anime because I think they're cool. I love big fucking robots,
So I guess my thing, I just another point to bring up regarding Build Fighters is like, I don't know how deep the Gundam references run. So yeah, you can if the fights are cool and you can enjoy it for like like I like that aspect of crossovers as well. It's just like even like smashing action figures together. That's neat. But like,
yeah,
I guess my thought is like if you're going to enjoy Build Fighters for more than just the fighting, it would be like the characters and the way that like their fights as a sports series almost, right? Like how or Yu-Gi-Oh, like that kind of aspect. And in that way, if it's good, it will be good regardless of whether you understand Gundam or not, I guess. So
No, I agree with that.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. But I see where you're coming from. Totally like I'm not trying to argue against like as someone who is fucking crazy completionist and will literally just like watch shit and like go through everything. Like I literally had the idea again. I don't know if I'm gonna fall through it, but with like Super Robot Wars, is like not just like playing all the games, but watching all of the shows that are relevant to all of the games, which is basically watching every mecha anime ever. Basically,
I think about Super Robot Wars all the time. Here's the thing: I think I just haven't watched. I don't need to watch every mecha to buy a Super Robot Wars game, but I need to watch more than I have. I think, in my opinion, if I've seen and enjoy like, you know, there's like, especially if you get like the Switch one, I think, which has like everything, including like Cowboy Bebop and fucking Gurren Lagann and like Ava, you know, like if you've seen like the big stuff, and then, you know, you add a good smattering of like Gundam and Macross and maybe some other mecha here and there, you know, like maybe like Ideon and I don't know, like I can't even think of other ones off the top of my head. Just like other random mecha, but you don't have to see everything. You've just seen like a good smattering, you know, Getter, obviously. Then you can go buy a Super Robot Wars, play it, and then almost use that as a way to influence what mecha I watch next. Where it's like, okay,
right, yeah, no,
which,
for sure.
Which of these robots is cool? Which of these do I like?
Basically, you want to do with Super Robot Wars what I was suggesting you could do with Gundam Build Fighters.
Exactly. Yes.
But yeah, no, it's especially because Super Robot Wars, just thinking about the volume of things I'd have to watch is literally like overwhelming. Like if I think too hard about it, because it's like all of Gundam, all of these other franchises, because you know, because again, like I've barely watched I've watched a few, but not nearly enough. So you know, I guess the other thing is like because I'm especially thinking of like, you know, as I finish videos and finish franchises, I want to check out stuff that like I'm interested in. So like part of the reason I came up with my maybe doing like Star Fox or Dragon Quest videos was because I already started those franchises, and it's like, oh, you know, as an excuse to play more of this franchise, I can just come up with a video idea and work on that. Like especially the Star Fox one, it's like they aren't long games, like, and I don't know. So but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I appreciate like people trying to get into stuff, and especially like older, like because yeah, how much older anime have you watched actually?
Older anime, probably not much.
Okay.
It'd be easier for me to read old manga than watch old anime. Yeah, I don't know. There's it's just so hard sometimes with old anime for like so many reasons. Not visually, right? I will say anytime I watch like anything that's like 90s or older and it goes hard visually, I love it, right? But it's like, I don't know. I'm stupid and my brain doesn't work, and that's how it is.
I mean, for a Zoomer brain, it literally is like slower pace, so it is like harder to like
it's
put yourself
paced,
in the mood
like,
to watch that.
Longer episodes too, like more episodes. I mean, so it's like slower paced over a longer time, and it's just like, brother, I can't. I don't have that dog in me, you know. Like, but I want to, and the problem is, I think that big robots are so cool, and I think that especially big robot anime got hurt the worst in the transition to like digital anime production. Like not in like a modern mech sucks, but just I think there is a charm to really old like sci-fi or like mecha anime where like, you know, you get all the mechanical stuff hand drawn. Like that shit looks so fucking cool.
Oh, you know? Yeah, for sure. Like,
and that definitely got lost in the modern age. So I think modern mecha anime lost a lot of its personality compared to like more than any other like genre of anime, I think, actually.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Mecha is one where like I'm not interested in watching modern mecha. I only want to watch like 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s robot shows, you know?
Yeah. No, because I was just gonna say I just really appreciate like people going out to check out older stuff, because people are so like recent brained, if that makes sense. Like they want Matthews's fiance Bree was like, she literally can't like struggles to watch older anime because she's just not into it, and it's like no. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, watching older stuff also it definitely is more just like being exposed to it as opposed to issues with it itself, I guess. Because like I enjoy a lot of like older stuff that I've seen. It's just more I haven't watched a lot of older stuff, but I have a bunch. Like here, let me go to my hard drive. Let me just name a bunch of the fucking mecha series I have downloaded, just so you can fucking understand.
Oh my god.
I am. Because I've had these downloaded on my hard drive for like years, right? So I see Gao Gaigar, Giant Robo OVA, Macross, fucking Fafnir, Ideon, hold on, a shit ton of Gundam series, and I think there's something else, but I can't see it right now. Yeah, and then just Gundam. And in the Gundam folder, I have fucking, what is this? I think the UC movies, I have the original 79. I have Z, G, War in the Pocket, 83, Stardust Memories, Turn A, Victory, yeah, Zeta, Double Zeta, Char's Counterattack, F91, and then Thunderbolt. So I have a shit ton of mecha on my hard drive.
You can just literally pop on and watch anytime. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a question of, am I going to click the video file and sit there and pay attention?
Yes. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like older shows work better for me when I'm like really in the mood to be like dedicated to a daily watching thing and like just watching an episode or two a day instead of like just being able to turn it on and just like not even binge it, but just like watch multiple episodes. Like if I'm not like able to dedicate myself to it in that specific way, I can't really watch most like really old stuff, I would say.
I just feel really Zoomer brain, but I'm starting to think about it right now. And here's what here's what I'm gonna start telling you, y'all, and I'm gonna try this over the next week and I'll report back. But normally when I get home from work, I feel like it takes me like an hour or two where like I sit down not doing anything before I like become a real person. So like before I can start playing video games, really is what I mean by that. But like before I can really do anything, right? It takes me a little bit of time for like my brain to like readjust, just I don't know, like I have to like get out of work mode. I'm gonna start for the next week when I get home from work. I'm gonna turn on an episode of anime or two during that time, and we'll see if it catches. If I'm able to get home from work and like I can't turn on a video game, but if I can get home and like turn on an episode of G Gundam, we'll do that. I'll try watching G Gundam. I'll see if I can get home from work, turn on G Gundam, and watch a little bit.
Because I was just thinking about how like no, that makes sense because video games like I've thought of a while ago just about like active like how active media is or how active you have to be to go through it basically, because it is like kind of interesting that like video games kind of need the most activity, reading is kind of in the between, and then like video like it just plays, like you can fall asleep and then video keeps going, right? Like you don't have to be as active to go through it. I mean, obviously like with anime you're still reading it, but like you know what I mean. So yeah, it makes sense to do something lower activity when you have less energy to do it. So yeah, because I personally I what I've been doing is I'm just whenever I eat something, excuse me, I have an episode to watch. So it's like, so that way I watch like 3 episodes a day at least, basically, because so so I could still get watching. It's like I've just been picking away at. I'm almost done with fresh pre-cure, but yeah, that's just how But that said, I only eat for like a few minutes. Like most of then I just it doesn't take me 20 minutes to eat usually. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we've been streaming for 2 hours.
Yeah, we have been. If any game, I mean, I don't know if you have any more to say.
No, I think I'm good.
He's
Do you have anything to say
dying.
about that? Sorry, gamer.
Not really.
All right. I want to say it while 11 people are here. I don't expect all y'all to show up, but if you guys want to come hang out tomorrow at any point when you're free, I'm dead ass. Like, unless I die, I'm waking up and like gonna get food, I guess, and I will be streaming. Hopefully, unless I guess I wake up late by like 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and I will be streaming ideally close to like 12 hours tomorrow.
Holy
FF7
shit.
Rebirth. That's what I want to do. I want to be a fucking monster, a gross little psycho goblin man. FF7 Rebirth all day tomorrow. I would love if you guys could stop by, hang out for a little bit when you're free. Throw it on a second monitor, come hang out. I will be not early in the game, but in like early 20-ish hours. I'm right at 20 hours. If you guys want to know in terms of original Final Fantasy VII where I'm at, I think I'm about to get to the parade. So the start of the stream will be the Junon parade, and then we'll see from there. But that's where I am right now, and I would love if gamers could stop by and hang out.
I might check it out because I have a video to edit, so I might just like throw your stream on the background and maybe see if I can't just hack out. It's a Ikotsu video. I'm gonna say it. I don't think I've said it publicly yet. It's silly and fun. But yeah, right. So yeah, I guess we're gonna call the stream.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's fun.